Welcome back to Henry's Garage, or welcome if it's the first time you're here. In this episode we get the first paint on the car in the boot, the engine bay, passenger compartment. We also clean off underneath and get director rust over anything where rust is showing, metal or rust is showing, and then we get underseal under the whole car and under the wheel arches. So enjoy and well, like, subscribe, comment, and see you soon. I've just done a 10-minute talk into a video that wasn't recording. So I thought I'd do an update on, although it's been quiet, on what I've been doing, and in terms of following on from when I talked about paint last time. So the first thing I did is I went across the boot, the passenger compartment and the engine bay, and anywhere I could see rust showing through, I applied rust converter. I went across the boot, the passenger compartment and the engine bay, and I ground down a lot of my welds, not completely flat, but just so they were better. And then I filled those welds in, as in I tried to weld in the pinholes. Having done that, I went across where I had those key weldings, and I was worried about water ingress still, and applied not direct rust, I'd applied fiberglass body filler. And you can see it here, and it still needs a bit of a sand and a clean up, but it's basically there. So that is getting the engine bay, passenger compartment, etc. ready. I've also been on my back underneath the car, and underneath the car I've taken a wire wheel across everything underneath the car just to knock off anything that was loose. And so we cleared it all off, and there, anywhere where I could see either bare metal or rust, I applied Hammerite Direct Rust, and it got a couple of coats of it. Some bits only got one coat because I ran out, but it got good coats. And then this afternoon I've been across the underneath of the car, so that includes the wheel arches and underneath the car, both sides, everything. And I've applied car underbody seal or whatever it is, so that should pick up. And just here I've just seen another spot which I've missed again. So that is should protect the bottom of this car and the underneath, so it's meant to protect against road chip-ins, it's meant to seal any holes, it's got wax oil in it for any rust, etc, etc. So it's had a really good coating of the stuff, and so I hope that's okay. So that's what we've been doing over the past week, and that is a lot of time spent on my back with a brush getting, well, absolutely filthy, or with a grinder or sander or whatever, and just having the stuff, dirt fall on me, so I didn't bother to video it. Okay. Now, why did I change my plans for underneath the car? Originally I was talking about using some sort of truck bed liner. The thing about that was I had a lot of bitumen underneath this car, and the seam sealer, the underbody sealer can go over that, but the truck bed liner, it would need to be cleared and back to paint or primer and stuff. And I want to protect it, but you know, I don't want to go all the way back. In fact, the reason I had talked about in the last video using within the engine bay and the boot using a direct to rust paint was to actually save myself having to go through the stages of primer, high build, base coat. But following the reaction I got from everyone, plans have been changed. So plans have changed, and the new plan is that we start the boot, the passenger compartment and the engine bay, and it will all be in the body colour eventually, but we're going to start, if I can find the can, with this stuff. Oh, that's the hardener, okay, a lot of hardener. So we've got hardener, thinner, and my epoxy primer. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go for across the whole car, engine compartment, engine bay, passenger compartment, boot and the outside will all be done epoxy primer, high build primer, base coat, clear coat. We'll not do it all at the same time, but we will get it all in epoxy first and then move on from there, then do all our high build, apart from maybe the peripheries, you know, the boot lid, the bonnet, the doors, that kind of stuff. And so we're going to work through it that way. Now, what I haven't quite decided is I really don't like the way I have the car on these stands at the moment. It's making me very nervous. I've had it wobble off a couple of times as I try to move it into the middle of the garage so that I work and then move it back. So what I might be doing is I might do the rear axle first, now that I've got the under done, and then I can get the rear axle and the suspension back on. So with the rear axle, if we can just turn this, we can see here now, I don't know if you remember what it looked like when it came off, but when it came off the car it was all, you know, very, very badly flaked everywhere. I have been over the whole thing with a wire wheel to clean it off, and actually my intention with this is I'm not going to open it up, I don't think. My intention is to get my direct to rust paint on it, get it looking good, and then put it back on as is, and so clear up all the rust but then get it back on as is. Similarly with the suspension, clear up the parts and get it back on, you know, clear them up with rust, paint them and get them back on as is. I've then got more stability at the back, and I can put the wheels on and do it that way. If I want to look at the bearings later, with it on the car it'll actually be easier to get the bearings off, and I can deal with the brakes at that point as well. So I intend to put it back together in order, and then take it apart again. I don't intend to open up the rear axle. I've got no idea if it's any good, but I've also got no idea how to deal with the rear axle. Now I've got paint on order, but that paint won't be here this week, and I'm not going to be able to work on things next week. So my short-term plan is possibly just the boot, but if possible all of those inner compartments, is to get epoxy on it this week. We'll see how I get on. The spec for the paint says to paint down to 320 grit and bare metal down to 180. Now since I got a bit of both, I've just sanded everything down to 180, which I think should be okay. I've then vacuumed it all and then gone over it with white spirit to degrease it and cleaned that off. I then found some bits which I hadn't sanded to my satisfaction, so I sanded those again, vacuumed and white spirited around those areas again. So I need to go over it with a tack cloth still, but I've gone and put little bits of paper into all the things that have threaded bolt holes. I haven't bothered with things like the threaded screw holes. And I need to either remove or protect that. But other than that, I think I'm ready to give this a go. So we'll see. Our mixing ratios for this are given as 100 primer, 50 hardener, 15 thinner. Sorry, 30 thinner. So 100 plus 50 is 150. 30 is 15% of that. So when I use this, I'm going to use the 2 to 1 with something between 10 and 20% as a thinner. So that's the plan. Not quite sure how I'm going to pour these because they're so full. I don't really have something suitable for it, but we'll see how we go. Okay, this is a lot thinner than I was expecting. I don't know if it means it's really thick down at the bottom. Yes, it does, right. Right, so I've made less, I hope, than I need. I can always make more. I can't unmake it. So we're going to just put this through. Now it is a 1.7 head that I've got on here. Don't know that I've mixed that well enough actually. So we'll just let that filter through. And then we'll start some painting. Well, I don't know how that's come out on the video, but I think that might be a bit of a disaster, to be honest. Oh, as I had lots of bits flying up, so I clearly needed to have another go at it. I hadn't taken air to it to try to blow everything out, which was a mistake. So we'll stop here, we'll give it some time to dry, we'll come back and do a second coat, or we'll decide not to at that point. Now there were a few places I've clearly got overspray, for example there. Well, so be it. What I was deliberately painting this by section, and I'm going to do the whole car in epoxy before, not the doors, not the bonnet, not the boot lid, but the rest of the car will all get done in epoxy before I move on to doing it all in high build, before I move on to doing it all in colour. And so doing that bit first allows me to remember how to do it, have a bit of practice with that particular layer, and so I'm prepared for when I actually do it on the more important bits from my point of view. So we won't be painting again for a while, because we're going to have to do body work across all of this car to get it looking good. Oh Christ, I'm going to have to clean that off well. I thought I'd been quite careful around that, but clearly not. Yeah, so we won't be painting for a while. What I am going to do next, because I'm really unhappy and I can feel like I can do it now, is I'm going to get that back on, the rear axle, which means that's going to be all painted up. I'm not going to take it apart. This is all going to be, because these are all new, these are just going straight back in, and we're going to get that back on here on the wheels so that I feel safer. And then we'll move on to the other stuff, and work through getting it all ready for epoxy and the like. So that's the plan. I won't be doing anything next week for various reasons. Today is a Wednesday and I don't have currently the paint to do this. I'm waiting for it to arrive. So I think what I will be doing tomorrow is that car just there. I haven't driven for about 2 months. I haven't driven it because it's been a bugger to change gear, because I must have air in the clutch, and I need to get it in here so that I can bleed it properly and get it out again. And I've done it twice already, but I'm clearly not quite getting it right. It's okay for a little while, then it goes, so I'll be doing that. I'm looking at it and I can see cobwebs all over it, so it really hasn't been driven for a while. So it'll be a while before I get back to this car, but when I do, it'll be the rear axle.